We're here. It's that point in the summer. I don't even know how to preview this thing. Let's just talk about this movie. So Ghostbusters, obviously it's a remake of the 1984 movie which came out with Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, directed by Ivan Reitman, huge comedy classic. This one's a remake starring all girls. This time you have Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones, and it's directed by Paul Feig. And obviously this thing has gotten a lot of publicity, both good and bad, in the last couple months. I did a video on the first trailer, wasn't really a big fan of the direction they were going with this movie, but Paul Feig's trailers do kind of have a history of not being that good when the movies are good, so let's see how this one goes. The movie's finally here, and I gotta say, this movie's not great, it's not bad, it's just kinda there. So starting off with what's good in this movie, the look of the ghosts is really cool. Obviously they're not looking for photorealistic ghosts, there's a lot of bright blues and greens, and it looks like The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But the visuals weren't the problem with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, those are actually one of my favorite parts of the movie, so it was one of my favorite parts in Ghostbusters. Being a Sony movie, they're gonna have a lot of product placement, that kinda got on my nerves at times. But for the majority of the movie, I thought it looked pretty cool. Now let's talk about the four leads in this movie. They all work pretty well together. Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy are a lot more subdued than they are in some of their other movies. And this movie's comedy style relies a lot on improvisation. So there's some scenes where they're literally just going back and forth, all four of them, all pretty much just trying to one-up each other comedically. And because they're just on the spot like that, there's a couple jokes that don't really land. There's some where the scenes just go on for too long. But all four of the actresses in this movie are pretty funny. Nothing made me just lose my mind gut-busting laughing. This movie made me chuckle a lot, but no one really stole the show. Although I do have to say that when I made that trailer review back when, you know, months ago when the first trailer came out, I gave Leslie Jones a lot of crap. She might have been my favorite of the four in this movie. Now the scenes that were in the trailer where she's just like screaming and yelling the whole time, those scenes, she's still annoying. But pretty much all the other scenes, you know, that weren't in the trailer, she was really good. Kate McKinnon's got a lot of personality in this movie. She's like the really eccentric inventor type. And then Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy, they're kind of like the meat of the story. And so they all have different functions on the team, and in the end of the movie when they're doing their cool Ghostbusters stuff, that is all really cool. But again, it's just, there's nothing really that elevates this movie past being a passable summer blockbuster. It's honestly really hard to review this movie without talking about all the stuff that's happening behind the scenes, so I'm going to talk about it just a little bit. One of my biggest issues with this movie is I don't think it needed to be called Ghostbusters. We saw it with R.I.P.D. a couple years ago. I'm not saying R.I.P.D. is a good movie, but R.I.P.D. took the Men in Black concept, but turned it into its own thing. Yeah, the movie sucked, and it is essentially a Men in Black clone, but they called it something different. They tweaked a couple things. I just feel like if they did that with this Ghostbusters movie, that they would have had a lot less flack. They would have been like, oh, it's Ghostbusters, but with a female audience. But when you put it out there that you are remaking one of the greatest 80s comedies of all time, then you're gonna run into a lot of that friction. But do you guys want to know the reason that they didn't do that? The reason why this movie is called Ghostbusters? That's why. Sony is so bent over backwards trying to make Ghostbusters into a franchise. They're doing that spin-off with Channing Tatum or whatever, like another guy Ghostbusters movie too. We're gonna have the female Ghostbuster team and the male Ghostbuster team like cross over and do all these spin-offs and probably another animated series. I mean, it makes sense because they lost Spider-Man to Marvel, but like Sony just like, and all the product placement in this movie, it just kind of irritates me knowing that this movie was designed to sell merchandise, to start a franchise, to bring in money. And Paul Feig is a really good comedic director. I'm sure he wanted to just bring Ghostbusters to a new generation. But the unfortunate thing is just Sony having their hands in everything. That's not gonna happen. There's a lot of cameos in this movie that tie into the original Ghostbusters movie. You heard about all of them. I'd say about half of them work, half of them don't. And that's a bummer because these used to be some of the biggest stars of the time. You know, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Sigourney Weaver. The best cameo in the movie is Annie Potts. Annie Potts is the best cameo in this movie. So they were just completely wasted, especially Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray. Those ones, the movie literally just grinds to a halt to put them in this movie. And I'm really crapping on this movie, but like I said, it's a completely watchable movie. There are parts in it where I chuckled, and the team, for the most part, works well together. There's also a post-credit scene in this movie, and I gotta say, it made me kind of get giddy for the sequel. It's an Easter egg referencing the first Ghostbusters movie, and I was kind of like, ooh, I understood that. And so I kind of want to see a sequel because of that, but this movie isn't really that good. Here's the thing with remakes, is I want a reason to watch this movie. Like, what can Ghostbusters 2016 give me that I can't get from Ghostbusters 1984? Like, for an example, what can The Jungle Book 2016 give me that The Jungle Book 1967 couldn't give me? It gave me a better plot, It gave me better like mythology and lore to the jungle. And I'll probably still watch the animated one from time to time, but that's why this live action Jungle Book movie exists, to fix those patches that the first one had. So now looking at Ghostbusters, I'm like, okay, so why should I ever go back and rewatch this as opposed to just rewatch the 1984 one? And there's nothing really in this movie that gives me that reason. So because of that, I feel like this thing fails as a reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it. I just can't picture myself watching this movie again, and because of that, I can't really say it's a good movie. And it's done. The movie's over. I don't have to talk about this thing ever again. Unless they make a sequel, they're gonna make a sequel. But for the time being, I'm done talking about Ghostbusters. Maybe I'll go back and revisit the 1984 one. I still actually haven't seen Ghostbusters 2. I should do, you guys know that Cloverfield video that I did where I watched Cloverfield for the first time with my old crappy camera? I might try to do something like that with Ghostbusters 2, because I liked recording my initial thoughts for the movie, and that could be fun. But as far as Ghostbusters 2016 goes, what did you guys think about it? Comment down below, let me know what you thought. And thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, you can click subscribe, check out some of my other stuff, and I will see you guys next time.